that the Republicans who are on each day just spew out. It's the same talking points over and over and over. I listen to C-SPAN every day, and it's the same thing. You think that they're all robots because they just give the same talking points, most of which are bull.
Don from Conestoga, Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Don. Listen, the truth never changes, my friend. And there's only one way to tell the truth, and that is that we have a debt deficit that's out of control, and we have to deal with it. And there's one plan on the table that all Americans know what that plan is and who it came from. That's the Republican Party, and that's in the House of Representatives. And if you have a better plan, I would say show me when the president's budget balances, and the answer is going to be it never does. So that's no plan at all. And if you look back, he got 0 votes in the Senate on his budget last year. And this year in the House of Representatives, he got 0 votes from Republicans or from Democrats. So if you want to deal with the budget, you need real leadership. And we have provided that leadership. And here's what I think we have to have happen. You need our budget proposal, but Democrats need to put their budget out as well. And then the two sides have to come together and find a resolution that works for the American people. But before we can do that, we actually need the Democrats to engage in the debate. And the Harry Reid in the Senate, no budgets over 3 years. The president's budget never balances. It was a political document, and no Democrats even voted for it. So I would like to engage in this conversation. I like to fix the problem, but I can't do it until Democrats will want to talk to us about the problem and the solution to this massive debt.
On Twitter, James Hart offers this congressman raise the retirement age. He writes, it wasn't designed to allow people to mooch off their kids for 20 years.
Well, I think that we're able to do it in the way that we've proposed. And there's a lot of people like the Twitter commenter that will say raise the rates, raise the ages, but we've gone a different direction. Who knows? Maybe the Democrats will propose raising the age limit, and we can have that conversation with them. But we put our plan on the table. Can I make a comment too? If people want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at /Rep Sean Duffy, and Sean is S-E-A-N. I'm also on Facebook too. I'm on Facebook.com/Rep Sean Duffy. We've got all of our stuff up there as well if they want to follow what we're doing as a freshman congressman from Wisconsin, Rep Sean Duffy.
So we've actually put Twitter addresses on the air now for Washington Democrats, so maybe you'll pick up a few.
Great.
This item is from Central Wisconsin Hub, and it is about the fact that the Club for Growth, looking at your record during your first term in Congress, isn't quite so happy. Rated the first term lawmakers on 34 votes. Duffy supported the group's position on 58%, going against the Club for Growth on 12 of the 34 measures. While the Western Republican score was not the lowest in its class, it was well below the average of 71% among freshmen, 69% among veterans. What do you think?
Well, listen, I went to Congress to represent the people of central and northern Wisconsin, and I don't represent the Club for Growth, and they've chosen to score votes that I don't agree with, and I've done what I think is best for my constituents. And so I was a lumberjack. I did lumberjack sports. That's chopping, sawing, log rolling, tree climbing, and we did a lot of lumberjack ads. They said it didn't take a big enough axe to Washington. My response to that is some people say you've taken too big of an axe. Some people say your axe is too small. Listen, if you have the left and the right hitting you, at some point you're sitting in the middle going, I'm doing what's best for my people. And that's what I'm doing. I'll defend all my votes because I think it was the right way to go for all of them. And again, you'll have the Club for Growth and a lot of people, but they're not in central Wisconsin. I don't represent any of those people, so I really don't care what they say.
What is the biggest thing you learned about Congress by being Senate as opposed to Washington?
It's so dysfunctional. I can tell you, I would have never imagined how dysfunctional this institution is. I think, and I'll ask a lot of people who've been around for a while what it was like in the past where actually things got done. And right now, you see that if you had two silos on one on the left and one on the right, if you go hit those outer silos of politics, and all Americans would expect politicians to fight on those outer issues. What I think has happened more recently is everything is getting fought over. That there's no common ground on simple things that should get bipartisan support and move through the House. It's not happening, and I think that's the frustrating point for a lot of Americans. And as a freshman, it's frustrating for me. My experience is that, say, Nancy Pelosi's job is to make sure that she remains the gavel, not to pass for legislation. And I would suspect that John Boehner might do the same thing to her. And so you have politics coming into play when we should be moving good policy. It's a frustrating part of the union.
Why do you want to come back then?
Well, I think common sense voices are needed, trying to advocate for sound policy, and being willing to provide full leadership to America, and policies that are going to put us on the right track. And I'm providing that kind of leadership in those kind of votes that resolve big problems. And so I want to come back and make sure that with my 6 kids, I can leave off a better America for them than the one that I have.
Next is a call from Titusville, Pennsylvania. Donald is a Democrat. Good morning, Donald.
Good morning. I was just on the senator is you listen to things on the TV from different sides, and they seem to have polls that say that this is right, this is wrong. You can turn it to another channel and the same thing that they say is right and wrong. They got polls that they disagree with that. My point is, when are they going to stop all this pointing fingers at each other and reach across the aisle and try to get things done? Because ultimately what happens, it affects everybody.
Donald, you're right. Good point. But I think the way the institutions should work and the parties should work is we should all put out our ideas, and then you got to come together and find common ground between the 2 proposals that have been made by both parties, and be willing to find that common ground and move good legislation forward. Again, with our budget process, we can't find a willing participant on the other side of the aisle to work with us, and that's become frustrating for us. So we put out our ideas. This is how you fix what's going to be devastating to this country if we have this debt crisis, which will happen if we don't fix the problem, and no one's willing to work with us on it.
Just a couple more minutes left, Congressman. Next is a call from Franklin, Texas. This is Richard. Richard's an independent. You're on for the Congressman. Richard, go ahead.
Well, yes, I've been waiting a while here.
Hi, Richard.
Well, how are you, Congressman? I do agree with the one caller ahead that this is talking points. I think you guys must be there at Monday and decide what you're going to say and keep it going. But anyway, besides that one thing is there's one problem that you guys will not face up to. I think it's the Holy Grail. It's called the military-industrial complex. You will not face the fact that our real military cost to our budget is over $1 trillion. If you add in all the departments, most people don't even know that the Energy Department is in charge of all the nuclear weapons, for example. It's not just the defense budget, Homeland Security. If you add all of those up, over $1 trillion, and you're afraid to touch it, we have over 700 basic military sites around the world. There's only 294 countries in the world. What do we need 767 bases for our military sites? It's ridiculous. You're afraid to touch it. You're afraid to touch it.
Thanks so much, Jim. The question was the defense bill on the floor, Congressman.
Yeah, as Richard, here's the deal. We actually have been touching it. I think you're right. It has been a holy grail from Republican voters in the past. But this Congress has come in and said we have to put everything on the table. We have to look at everything, and we have looked at our military spending. We have reduced military spending. We've done it in conjunction with the Pentagon, trying to talk and see where we can cut the fat. So to say that we haven't addressed military spending is wrong. We actually have addressed it. We've made them part of the solution to reducing the size and scope of government. So we've put it on the table.
This is our last call, Congressman. It's from Dan, who's a Republican in Frederick, Maryland. Hi, Dan.
Hi. I'd just like to make 2 quick points about our education system. One thing is, I'm all for higher education, but nowadays they require a degree for everything. I mean, you could go to a job for 20 years experience and somebody could walk in with a degree and take your job in a minute. The second point is that if we could get elementary schools through college, the schools are basically run by liberal Democrats, teaching our kids, basically their point of view without a conservative point. So we're at a disadvantage from the beginning, and no wonder we're losing the young folks.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you make a very good point. We see that there's not a lot of diversity of thought in our institutions of higher education, and I think that would be a benefit for us. Also, I know in our area there's a need for welders and electricians there's a need for folks who can work after a 2-year degree. And I think we have to, talk to our